I use the French cleat method in my shop to hold all my tools, but the wall is pretty much filled up and I'm in need of some more space. The little shelves I have for my cans of finish are overflowing, and there's a collection of new tools that I'd like to make holders for. I was thinking that I'll just extend the cleats along this wall for as far as I can, and then maybe put another little section on the other side of the miter station. So that's what I'm going to be doing in this video. Let's get started. I found this 4x4 cedar post in the garage and figured it would do just fine for the cleats. After I cleaned it up a bit and removed any staples, I cut it to the desired length over at the miter saw. Then I used the table saw to rip both of these sections down into several long boards. I tilted the blade to 45 degrees and then cut each of the boards exactly in half so that I can use either side as a cleat. It didn't take long until the entire house smelled like cedar, and then I was ready to hang them up. First I have to clear out the area, which means moving my sander and then the drill press. But then I could hold one up, mark where the studs are, drill the holes, and then screw it to the wall. The big thing to realize if you're considering doing this yourself is that you need to make sure that you can support the bottoms of your tool holders. So since this wall isn't finished and there's no drywall for support, I have to hang additional cleats that will fulfill that purpose. Here's some rare footage of an African buffalo being born on the plains of the Serengeti. So it's basically a lot of rinse and repeat. Drilling, countersinking, and screwing it to the wall. But once you have the wall cleats up, you're ready to start making the tool holders. And that's the fun part. I'm starting off with a holder for my circular saw. I've been keeping it down in a cabinet, and it's just not convenient to get to when I need it. I cut a rabbet in a couple of 2x4s and basically build a platform that can hold the saw up. Once I have that, I can mark off how big I want the backer board to be. Cut that out. And then I can just glue all the pieces onto it and clamp them down. Once that was dry, I glued on a couple of small strips of plywood that will wrap around the saw and keep it into the holder. And there it is, finished and on the wall. Works. On to the next one. For this one, I needed a couple of L-shaped brackets, so I cut them out over at the bandsaw. Once they were cut, I trued them both up over at the miter saw, cutting each of the sides flush. Then I used the belt sander to clean them up further. I got a bit carried away here though. I actually completely shaped and rounded them here. It's not necessary, but it did turn out kind of cool. Cutting a piece for the backer board. Then I just held them in place to find the right spot, and then I traced their location on the backer board. With this marked, I can then poke a couple holes so I know where to put the screws in from the back. A little CA glue holds them just fine, but adding the additional screws through the back gives it all the strength that I'll need. I glue and screw on the cleat, and this one is just about done. And just so you know, all these tool holders are just products of my warped mind. There's no plans or designs I'm following. I'm literally just gluing scraps of wood together and hoping for the best. But it really gives you a chance to flex your brain and be creative when coming up with various holders for your tool wall. It's fun. Well, the holder for the brand is done. What's next? I found a pretty gnarly scrap piece of 2x6 and cleaned it up in the joiner and then ripped it in two. Over at the miter saw, I trued up the ends, and then I made a series of angled cuts that were a couple of kerfs wide. I rounded over the corners at the bandsaw, and then I prettied it up over at the belt sander. And then the trim router made fast work of rounding over the edges. I sanded down a scrap of cedar from the 4x4 post and cut it to length, and then I used that as the cross member to join the two uprights. Gluing and screwing on the cleat, and this one is done. Not the most elegant solution, but it definitely serves its purpose. And the benefit of this design is that if you do happen to trip and fall into it, at least your death will be a quick one. For the next one, I want to make a holder for my Forstner bits. It's pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to dwell too much on this. Basically, I just find the center line, place the tip of each bit on the line, and give it a tap to make a mark where I need to drill. Once they're all marked, it's just a matter of poking a bunch of holes. That should work. Looks good. So this next one involves making a series of equally spaced compartments. With my razor-sharp math skills that I honed as a rocket scientist for NASA, I calculated, in my head, the correct measurement to segment out this holder. Once I had the magic number on the calipers, I just could walk it down the board and make all of my marks. Then each one of those marks becomes a dado for a divider. Now I do my best impression of how Stevie Wonder would use a bandsaw. Honestly, this is painful to watch. But not to worry, I cleaned it all up over at the belt sander. So these pieces become sides that I glue on. And a couple of nails shot in lets me keep going so I don't have to wait for the glue to dry. Next, with the sides and dividers in place, I can put the front pieces on. And then it's done. A holder for all of my sanding discs. Okay, last one, I swear. A set of shelves for all the cans of finish and paint and other stuff that I have lying around. I used 3/4 inch plywood and cut in some dados for shelves. And a few of the shelves are deeper than the sides, so I want to round over the corners so that they're more aerodynamic. And with a little glue and nails, it basically puts itself together. It's super easy construction, nothing fancy here at all. But what it lacks in form makes up for in function. I added some bracing under each shelf to keep them from sagging. Put the cleat across the top and they were done. A pretty strong set of shelves that doesn't take me long to fill up. All in all, I love the French cleat methodology. It's extremely versatile. I can rearrange my shop wall in just minutes. I get to be creative in making the holders, and now it highlights just how much I need to get more tools to fill in the rest of this new wall. Well, that's it for this one. We'll see you next time. This thing's too long. I can't fit it behind the saw. I can't fit it in front of the saw. I'm gonna have to cut it down. Sweet job. Did I not even tighten the chuck? Wow. 8.5 divided by 5 equals 1.7. Well, what is 7/10 of an inch? Hey Siri. Oh, jeez. Why is that loose? Oh, nice. I need bigger screws. Yeah, that's a great way to hang all your valuables. Just